Hi everybody, it's Marcy, and I'm here today to do some playing. I'm trying to get ready for my June Junk Journal Challenge with Dear Julie, and this month's challenge is called June Just Favorites 15 Junk Journal Challenge. You only get to use 15 different items to make your journal. And so right now, before I make solid decisions on a couple of things, I wanted to do a little experimentation. And some videos ago, I showed you how I printed words and phrases on muslin using freezer paper. Attach the muslin to the freezer paper, then send it through the printer. And at that time I said I wanted to try an entire image and see how that did. Well, today is the day I'm going to try that. So I've already cut my freezer paper and my muslin down to 8.5 by 11. And underneath it, I've got a piece of parchment paper just because the fabric goes against the shiny side of the freezer paper. And that plastic coating is going to melt, acting like a glue. So, get this lined up, and I've got parchment paper underneath just to keep from ruining my ironing mat, and I'm also going to put parchment paper over the top to keep from ruining my iron. All right. I'm going to start on this end, and then I can adjust a couple of things. And all right, I'm just going to iron over this for a minute. I'm trying to keep the iron moving. I know I wasn't there for a minute, but and with all this parchment paper, everything's kind of sliding, but my paper is not sliding off, or my fabric is not sliding off my freezer paper, which is what's important. I want to be sure to get the edges really well, and then I'm going to pull everything up and check it. And as soon as I get this going, okay, everything appears to be adhered. So I'm going to turn my iron off. So I'm letting that cool for a second. So for this month's challenge, I'll be using parts of 3 digital kits. All the digital kits are from Dear Julie, and I'll be using it's either called Beach Beauties or Antique Beach Beauties, I'm not sure which. And At the Beach postcards and At the Beach pages. So there's 3 of my 15 items right there. I will also be using, what did I do with my stuff? Oh. And these are just, I did a couple of printouts. Those are just a couple of the pages from, these are both from Beach Beauties. I haven't printed everything out yet. I will show you everything once I do print it out. And I will leave the link to Dear Julie Julie's Etsy shop in the description box below while I'm making these videos. Okay, so I'll have 3 items using those digital kits. I will also be using this 8x8 paper pad, Beach House by the Paper Studio, which is Hobby Lobby. And I've had this paper pad for quite some time and haven't used it because I've wanted to make a beach journal using these kits and just haven't done it yet. Okay, so paper pad. Then I've got to have some sort of book, journal, envelope, something to make the cover from. And I'm thinking for this one, I'm going to need multiple signatures. So I don't want to just use an envelope and make a single signature 6x9 journal cover. So I do have this journal that I think I'm going to attempt to use. The inside of the journal is very plain. The pages are in signatures. It's just dot grid throughout. So kind of plain, but I can still use that as writing paper. The neat thing about it is the colors I think will go very well. Plus it has a closure, just a wraparound closure. So I'll be able to use that. And then I've already started taking it apart. This was a bookmark that was in it, so I'll be able to use that. Now here's the problem. And it doesn't have to be a problem, but it is for me. This journal is, I forget, over 10 inches tall. It is 10 1/4 by 7 1/8 inches wide. I don't have any papers that are going to fit that. Or not that they will all fit it, but given that my paper pad is 8x8, there's my copy paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, originally, before I measured it, I thought, oh, even that color will work. All I need to do is cover that up. I will need to extend the spine. But I could just keep the covers. Well, now that I've gotten the measurements, I think I'm going to cut it down. So I'll be cutting some off the top and the bottom, and the side. When I take the spine off, I'll cut it in a little bit. And I think I will make it 9x6. But that means that's going to leave raw edges everywhere. And I need to cut off the top and the bottom, because if I take just the bottom, the corners are rounded. So I would have a square corner at the bottom and a rounded corner at the top. So I'm just going to take a little off the top, a little off the bottom, and some off this side. And then expand the spine. So that's what I'm going to do with that. And what else? I've got some stickers that I will be using. So that puts me up to 1, 4, 5, 6 items. Fabric, that's 7 items. So for my 8th item, that's another thing I want to experiment to see if I can do what I hope I can do. So let me pause the video. I'm going to get the printer. I'm going to get this started in the printer, and while it's printing, we'll play around with the second thing I wanted to try to see how it works. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and the page is printing and appears to be printing well. Actually, I think it's already done, but I'm going to let it sit there, let the ink dry. So the other thing I wanted to do is I'm trying to determine which lace or lace trim I want to use, or if I need both a lace and a lace trim. So to help make that decision, I'm pretty sure I've seen other people do this, but I'm going to take this little scrap of lace trim, and actually I think I've seen people do it, and I've got some abandoned coral distress oxide, and I'm going to put some of that down on my pie plate. And normally I just use a water bottle, but thought I might need a little more than just a water bottle full, so, or just, it's not going to work at all. Okay, and I want to see if this A takes, and B, how it looks after it dries. So it's definitely taking. Because if this works, which it looks like it will, then there's a lace that I've got that is about that color. Actually, this matches the journal a little better. And, sorry, I'm looking for that parchment paper I used earlier. If this dries well, okay, let me gather my thoughts. I had some lace that is about that color, but it's a little more peachy than the corally. And I thought I wanted to use it, but I thought, well, I also am going to want some lace trim. So I thought, well, let me try this. If this works, because inks are a free tool for us, then I can use my lace trims and make them be any color that I want to. And I think for this journal, I could use the natural color. I could use the abandoned coral, and I might be able to use some salty ocean. So I'm going to leave that for now and let it dry. I might be able to take my heat gun to it and dry it, but I think, just out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to let that dry. I'll pause the video, and when that has dried, I'll come back and I'll show you the fabric that I printed out, and we'll see how the Distress Oxide lace looks. So I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, I'm back, and my little lace piece it's not completely dry, but pretty close to. And after it sat for about 5 minutes, I took this little paper towel and I just kind of daubed up some of the excess moisture, and I think it's going to work great. So that means I don't have to use my lacy fabric and lace trim. And for this challenge, it's not just 15 items, it's as if you were buying something and it was one line item on the receipt. Well, my lace trims that I'll be using, I got from Amazon 5 of them. They're all a little different. There may have actually been 6 in here, but I've got 5 of them here. I don't want to accidentally stain anything since it's not completely dry. And since that was one line item purchase, I can use any or all of those lace trims. So, and now that I have checked for myself and realized that the distress ink, from what I've seen, spray inks, I don't really have, well, I don't have any spray inks that would go with this color, but spray inks, would probably work great. So you can make your lace be any color you want it to be. Now, here's my printed fabric, and I absolutely love it. Let me show you. That is the image printed on 32-pound presentation paper. Okay, that is the same image printed on the muslin. Now bear in mind the muslin has color to it, and the fabric is porous, so of course it's not gonna keep as much of the ink on top of the paper. More of it's gonna settle through. But I absolutely love it. I think that will be great for the cover of my journal. And you see right here, I had a little bit of a wrinkle in my fabric, but I'm okay with that because that just adds to the genuineness of it. And then this one, I may use as part of a fabric flip or something. So let's get it peeled off the freezer paper. So there we go. Now I've got my printed fabric. I absolutely love that. I'm so tickled with that. And the other thing that occurred to me is I obviously haven't done it yet, but I could take some of this same fabric and also dye it the same way. So out of one fabric I can get, since we can use inks, since inks are considered a tool, I can get all sorts of nifty stuff. So what that means is now I have my 3 digital kits, I have my Beach House paper pad, I have the journal I'm going to use, I have my lace trim, I have the stickers that I showed you earlier, I have this fabric, and I have more of this fabric, so I can continue using that. I can add in this jewelry. I got this about 6 years ago from a trip to Florida. And it's got some seashells and all sorts of, I don't know what this is, but like mother of pearl kind of looking stuff that I think might go great in the journal. And my napkins haven't come in yet. I've ordered them, and I actually ordered them before the challenge started, and they come, we get 1 free napkin, but what I got comes in a package of 4 beach themed napkins. And if they all look the way I think they're going to look, it was one purchase. There are, I believe, 20 of 4 different napkins in it. Then I'm going to want to use those. I may use some of those and attach them, say, on the reverse side of one of my digital images. So that puts me up to 10 items, which leaves me 5 more, and I've got kind of a list here going. Actually, I'm going to knock that down by 1 because I've got the very last little bit of an old beach themed scrapbook paper pad. And what I have most of left are these little journaling cards. And again, I think the color will do very well. So I don't know that I'll use these papers, but I very well may use these cards. So actually, I'm going to put them down on my maybe. So yeah, I'll leave it at 5 now, and then that'll at least get my journal started, and then these other things, as I decide I want to use one, I'll pick one out. But anyway, okay, so that's enough rambling on that. So there you have it. I'm really pleased with the way that came out. I hope you enjoyed this. Maybe you learned something a little new. I know I did. And that gives me a lot more variety given the limited number of supplies that we can use. So, everybody, please be safe, stay healthy, and happy crafting. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.